let's talk a little football. And I want to talk a little football from a different aspect. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about the Eagles. And we were discussing how much the fan base tortures themselves. Like, we torture ourselves when it comes to the Eagles. It's like we can't extract joy. See what happens nightly at the Phillies game, right? Now, of course, they're a great team, and everybody realizes that. But there is a different sort of atmosphere. And I get the difference, 162 v. 17. You know, I mean, we understand NFL is, ratcheting it up. It's almost, deathly serious. Every game matters, completely. But even how we approach the Birds, we approach them with almost a negative tone. And I really want to dive into that kind of nuance today. And it even happened this morning during our morning meeting. So we were talking about Hard Knocks and how pathetic the Giants look. I mean, Joe Shane, who runs the Giants right now, looks like a buffoon, an absolute buffoon. The owner is saying, when they were talking about Saquon Barkley a couple episodes ago, and the owner's saying, here's Mara going, oh, man, if he goes to Philadelphia, I'll be brokenhearted. Meanwhile, Shane's going, I don't think the Eagles have been quiet. I don't think they're going to be interested. It's unbelievable. He just looks clueless without any sort of plan. None. Whether, what's their long-range drafting, plan? How do they want to build their team? They look like complete amateurs. So, obviously, if you're an Eagles fan, you go, hey, this is great, right? Like, the Giants, one of your principal rivals, appear dead in the water, and who knows how long that could happen. We know about the Cowboys and how dysfunctional the Cowboys are. The Commanders are, they might as well be they're without a pulse. Now, we'll see if they can get turned around because they've hit rock bottom. So you look at the rest of the division, you go, wow, this division is really bad, right? Like, they're run poorly, and there's issues everywhere inside the division. And so you think, you feel good about, if you're an Eagles fan, you feel good about that whole prospect. But, of course, our producer, Skeeves, Andrew Frazier, says, well, it would be a colossal blunder if the Eagles didn't win the division. And I'm thinking to myself, that is such a negative statement. And again, I'm not telling you that you got to be, pooping pom-poms, all right? Like, I'm not telling you got to do that sort of thing. But, I mean, right off the bat, it was like something good for the Eagles is like, well, they better be able to do it. And I had a conversation about this yesterday with a friend of mine and who works in sports, and we were talking about this. And he said, it's interesting because the goalposts are always moving for the Eagles. It's like, all right, you gotta win the Super Bowl, right? It always starts with that one. But there's never any kind of like, all right, even if you win the Super Bowl, well, you gave up 500 yards to Brady in the Super Bowl, man. Like, that defense was horrendous in the Super Bowl. Like, it's insane how we view it. And I wonder, I only say this because I care about your own mental state of being. And I wonder, are you enjoying it? We look forward to football season every year. Right? Especially now, it comes out, oh, man, can't wait for football. And just the whole, how we celebrate it, right? From parties and family and get together, and all your buddies, everybody watches the games together, and we talk about it. It's such a big deal here, and it's so fast, right? It's the shortest of any of the 4 seasons. It's so quick, and you blink, and it's like, wow, it's week 10. And you start to I always get like depressed, like, oh man, it's already week 10. And I wonder, are we cheating ourselves out of enjoying the moment, out of enjoying the now? Because right away it's like, oh, Got to get to January. Got to get to February. Got to win the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a duh moment. Of course. That's always the goal every year. But the Eagles have been so good for a long time, relevant. And all I really want out of my franchises are to be relevant. Like, I think you can control relevancy. I don't think you can control whether or not you win a title. I think that comes down to breaks and hot teams and, what your opponents are doing. I think there's a lot of variables. I think you can control if you run a good front office, right? If you draft well and plan well, I think you can be relevant. And you can be consistently relevant. I think that's kind of what we're talking about. We look at the Phillies and we do celebrate. Like I love the way we absorb the Phillies. Like we take the Phillies and we have this, kind of fun kind of way. Trey Turner and the whole standing ovation. Like, could you imagine if Jalen Hurts is in a slump and he comes out one day and he misfires badly on his first 4 passes? Do you think that there would be a standing ovation for Jalen Hurts in that spot? Certainly, Skeeves isn't doing that. Like, we already know that. I kind of want to discuss this whole thing because I really want you, and I mean you, to enjoy it, to savor every moment because it goes by quick. And yeah, I want to win the Super Bowl in due time. That's Poppin' Off, brought to you by Ollie Pop.
We all silly like the mayor.